Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, ladies and gentlemen. It is I, your friendly neighborhood moviegoer John L., and I'm back here again with another review. This time around, we're talking sci-fi, folks. Sci-fi with a great actor in Adam Driver and dinosaurs. We're talking that movie that barely anybody watched this weekend, 65. And I wanted to start off by going to the Rotten Tomatoes scores, right? So as of right now, on Rotten Tomatoes, 72 critics have reviewed, and they've given it a 38%. And then with 500 plus verified audience ratings, is at a 63, right? So, it's not a very popular movie. Folks don't have that much great to say about it. And I was going into it knowing this already, right? But I did my best to keep an open mind because I didn't want to miss anything, or at least feel like whatever I got from the movie was something that was predisposed, right? Went in there and said to myself, okay, let's be on the lookout for some crappiness or whatever the case is. The synopsis reads, after a catastrophic crash on an unknown planet, Pilot Mills, played by Adam Driver, quickly discovers he's actually stranded on Earth 65 million years ago. Now, with only one chance at rescue, Mills and the only other survivor, Koa, played by a young lady by the name of Ariana Greenblatt, must make their way across an unknown terrain riddled with the dangerous prehistoric creatures in an epic fight for survival. So the story begins, or should I say the film begins, with the premise that there are beings on other planets outside of planet Earth. And 65 million years ago, these beings were advanced, they had spaceships, and they traveled the galaxies. And lo and behold, Adam Driver was this, didn't necessarily know what his actual job title was, but he transported stuff, right? From different planet to different planet, across different galaxies, right? So as the synopsis says, he goes into this unknown galaxy cluster, which was met by an asteroid belt, field, whatever you might want to call it. And he ended up on this nondescript planet that was out of the realm of knowledge from the world that he came from. Then, come to us, being that it was 65 million years ago, he landed on Earth. And then that's when the whole survival show begins. He ends up finding this young girl who was about 9 or 10 years old. She was the lone survivor from the cargo that he was transporting. The cargo were cryogenically frozen people who were being transported from one world to another. Don't necessarily know why, but they just were. And this little girl and her family were being transported in this ship. The ship crashes due to the fact that it was hit by that asteroid belt, or that asteroid field, and crashes on Earth. She's the lone survivor outside of Adam Driver, who was the pilot of the ship. So then the survival games commence. For me, just watching the movie, I felt more engaged with the movie than I did with the movie that I watched the previous night and afternoon, which was Scream 6. I didn't get the intensity and the what's the good word? I would say intensity, the thrills. There was actually a couple of jump scares in 65. There were very tense moments during 65 as well. Like, you felt everything. Adam Driver acted the shit out of this goddamn movie. He did a terrific job here. The young lady didn't really have much to do, but much like as to what's happening now on TV/streaming, we have the theme of a man who left his homeland and his family behind, and his young daughter who was sick before he left on this 2-year expedition of whatever cargo he had to transport. Within that 2-year period, his young daughter dies. Then he finds this young lady who has now lost her own family, and he basically has her as a surrogate daughter in a sense. After all of this, after all these trials and tribulations and trying to survive in this prehistoric savage land. So that builds that bond and connection between the young lady that he was transporting and himself. And it built a lot of tense moments, tender moments, also very thrilling moments. And the only thing I would say I didn't necessarily like about the movie was just the effects on the dinosaurs, right? Some people say there weren't enough dinosaurs in the movie. And I said to myself, this ain't Jurassic Park necessarily, you know what I'm saying? But I also do get the notion that it's like, well, it's a savage land 65 million years ago on Earth. It was supposed to be inundated with dinosaurs all over the place. And I would figure, dinosaurs being animals within the sphere of Earth, it's like, well, it's terrain. They mark territory. Depending on the kind of I would say situations that were brought about in these savage lands. Some were apex predators, others weren't. The movie itself showed you the savagery between the dinosaurs themselves. They basically picked each other off and they killed each other because it was just all about survival at the end of the day. But some dinosaurs are bigger than others. And, throughout at least American education, we've been told that there were dinosaurs that were herbivores, some omnivores, some just straight up carnivores. So depending as to wherever they landed, they basically landed in a very carnivorous part of Earth. And they were basically, running for their lives. And then the gimmick was that in this large ship that Adam Driver piloted, there was an escape pod within this larger ship. And he eventually located the escape pod with whatever tools and resources that he had. They had very advanced technology 65 million years ago on other planets. And he was able to find the shuttlecraft. And basically the mission then was for them to get from where the main crash ship was to where the escape shuttle was. And the escape shuttle was on the top of a mountain. And so they had to get through all this savage wasteland. They were rummaging through forests, encountered tar pits, hot acidic geysers, and things of that nature. So they encountered all these different ecological set pieces in this savage wasteland that is Earth 65 million years ago, and they used it to their advantage to eventually get to this mountain and reach the shuttle bay. And the creation of all this suspense was very well done, in my estimation. Between sometimes the separation between the two characters that had nothing to do with the dinosaurs, then obviously having to do with the dinosaurs, and just the elements that they were in. I thought the movie was well done in that regard. Look, folks, this isn't going to be, at least for me, right? Understanding what the premise of the movie was, this isn't super sophisticated sci-fi. This isn't even Star Wars level sci-fi. This isn't Dune level sci-fi. This is action, thriller, suspense sci-fi. And if you look at the movie before you go into the freaking theater, it's an hour and 33 minutes. It's an hour and a half movie. You're not going to get much depth out of this. The young lady barely spoke. They didn't speak the same language, so they had that particular barrier, right? So they had to create this outside of the bond between two survivors, create a way that they can communicate, right? And with all that, in an hour and a half, how much depth to character do you really feel you can get in an hour and a half? Unless they were planning on making this some sort of a franchise, which I don't think they will be. Pretty much ended in a very finite way. But this movie brought all these different theories into light, like the asteroid theory that has always been spoken about, that asteroids hit the Earth 65 million years ago, and that's what made the dinosaurs disappear. That's what basically ended the movie, right? And they were the precursor to knowing, oh, this asteroid was coming to hit Earth, was that asteroid field that he hit before his ship crashed into Earth, right? So they gave us that particular viewpoint already when the movie started. So it only could have been that they were hitting Earth right before the dinosaurs are about to disappear. It might be silly, but at the end of the day, not all sci-fi has to be serious. And not all of it has to be like swashbuckling and adventurous. This is a very different take on the living experience in our universe. Because if you look at it from a grander standpoint, not to say that it, but who's to say? Really, who is to say? My thought was, the movie's basically telling us that there are sentient beings out there in the world who have this advanced technology even 65 million years ago. Now, is that true to us here on Earth in 2023? Most people will tell you no. Then if you get into conversations about, well, how did the Egyptians build the pyramids? And how did this come to be? And how did that come to be? And why is this found here and not there? And it's like, we got too many questions that are unanswered that, carbon dating can't necessarily answer, right? And there's not a complete written history of Earth throughout the millions of years. We have the written human history for the last couple of thousand years, but even that's kind of sketchy, right? So, the movie just used itself as a case to put a theory out there, right? There are certain beings in other worlds and other universes and with more advanced technology and that lived millions of years ago, and the reason as to why shit happened is because they came to visit first and whatever else have you, which led to the paternity of the plot in this movie. But like I said, Adam Driver was great in this movie. I thought that the story was super easy to follow. Like I said, a lot of movies nowadays don't have to be super complex in order for you to be a fan of it. I would recommend it. It's a popcorn movie for real. It's not that long. I definitely enjoyed it. The suspense in it is well put together. So that means the writing was good, and you get decent action, even though it's not an over the top action film, but you get the action in where it displaces the suspense, but it also gives you the overview of, well, they're trying to survive. Someone's got to die, you know? So that's really much about it in regards to 65. Regardless of what the Rotten Tomatoes scores and what the cinema scores are, I had a fun time with this movie. It was released on March 10th. It's another one from Columbia Pictures / Sony. PG-13. And yeah, man, go ahead and watch this one. It's fun. And if you don't find it suspenseful or thrilling, hey, we all differ in opinion sometimes. But to me, it worked better in the thriller / suspense and intensity category than the supposed horror film I had watched the night before. So that tells you that. But anyways, folks, it's been real. It has been me, John L., your favorite, your friendly neighborhood moviegoer. Next week, I'll see what comes about movie-wise. I had 2 scheduled. The new Shazam film, Fury of the Gods. And I also have the new Willem Dafoe film set for Friday. That particular film, it's just him by himself. It's called Inside. Rotten Tomatoes reviews are already out for it. Not very positive as of yet, but it is what it is. I'm still going to watch it. I did want to watch Champions as well, so I'll see if I can get around to it this weekend as well and set up a review for you guys for Champions as well, because I wasn't able to catch it this weekend due to work getting in the way. So, with that being said, I recommend 65, folks. If you don't want to watch it in theaters, I guess you can do the digital and on-demand thing with it if you don't want to spend your money in a movie theater. But if you don't want to go the regular route, the $18.99 movie ticket, catch yourself a matinee. $12.99. That's what I did. At least here in New York. Depending as to wherever you are in the world, matinees might be different pricing. So if you can catch a matinee throughout the week or on a weekend, get it for the cheap, folks. Get it for the cheap. You don't have to watch this in like an IMAX or Dolby Cinema. They probably don't have it on premium screens. You'll still enjoy it nonetheless on a regular screen. So yeah, there's that. 65. Recommendation from me. Thank you for listening, folks, as always. The YFNMG community is continuing to grow. I appreciate everybody, both nationally here in the U.S. and internationally across the globe. UK, all of Europe, Pacific Islands, South America. My people's out in Asia. Thank you. Australia, I see you. My people's out in the continent of Africa. I appreciate all the love, man. I really, really do. You guys are rocking with me, so I'm going to continue to put out this content and continue to entertain and inform. That's what I'm here for. I'm about this, y'all. Take care of yourselves. Be good, stay healthy, and be good to one another, right? I'm about. I'll check you out next time. Have a good one.